Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video, and today I'm gonna be doing my Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V episode 106 review. So another good episode. A lot of things that were weird in this episode there. And oh, by the way, Alexis Rhodes was in this episode. That's why just showing that, because Alexis Rhodes is the best. About the best thing about this season, of course, there, Alexis Rhodes, she just looks so epic as usual there. A lot of unanswered questions, though. As Alexis explains, her origins to Duel Academy and whatnot there. A lot of interesting tidbits that they came up with. There was also a plot hole in the in this episode. Not sure if this was 4K media or this was the Japanese version. But I'm assuming the way it was flown in, I'm going to just take a shot in the dark. It was the Japanese version. Because it was just kind of the way the animation kind of was set up. I don't see how that was changed, but it doesn't make sense anyways, regardless. But we'll get into that very soon for this review. Basically, this episode starts off with Sakaki and Zuzu. They're talking, they're talking things over, and Mr. Sakaki basically explains to Zuzu why he did what he did. He talks about Declan, who's the leader of the Leo Institute. About his father, apparently, Mr. Sakaki, and his father had been good buddies with one another at one point. Thought he could basically, figure him out, and get him to stop doing what he did. It didn't work. And Lilo, or Darian, was just, Declan, was just pissed off. And he just, he wanted to get his revenge, and he even said once he has his heart on getting his revenge, he's gonna get it. And so that's what sets up the whole, Declan trying to take over or take out his father, who's trying to unite all the dimensions together there. So he explains, on the day he left to defend his championship against the Sledgehammer, he had to leave to try to go to Duel Academy to stop them. Instead, he ends up winding up in the Aziz dimension there. So that's how he gets there. He meets up with, the people talked about him before. And then the war breaks out with Duel Academy evading the Aziz dimension, and then that's the end of him there. So he goes to Duel Academy at some point, I guess, there, the fusion dimension at some point. Mr. Sakaki also has a limp problem as well. He apparently hurt himself dueling. This is fictional, but you can get hurt dueling, people. It's not a shadow game. Oh, no. This isn't a shadow game, people. This is dueling. This is regular dueling. The holograms, people, can hurt you, Mr. Sakaki is limping. There's no holograms in dueling. And this just proves it, people. It just proves it. This is the reality. Dueling hurts. Um, but I mean, it's still cool though. Still cool nonetheless. But anyways, so then after that, they get into a whole explanation for Alexis Rhodes, which leads to, her friend, tells Alexis what happened. So I guess, apparently, Alexis, too, by the way, did know about the 4 dimensions. I guess Mr. Sakaki did tell her, because the way she talked, it implied that she did know about the 4 dimensions. I thought she was only a rebel against the Duel Academy's methods for the cards, but apparently she knows about the master plan as well, based on what she said. Alexis talks to Dawn, and, or not Dawn. What the frig? Why did I just say Dawn? Shit. I mean Zuzu. By the way, Dawn from Pokemon, from Diamond and Pearl, is the same voice actor as Zuzu, for anyone who doesn't know that by now, but you should. But I still can't believe I just said that. Anyways, so yeah, I got freaking Don Zuzu over here. No, I'm just kidding. Zuzu. So Zuzu is now talking to Alexis. Alexis is telling, her friend basically found out, because she wasn't on the first mission. She wasn't selected for the first invasion, from the Xyz dimension. And it's a good thing she wasn't. Her friend was, and she was all mad and sad. Or no, she wasn't mad, she was upset. She told Alexis what happened. Alexis, apparently, while she was with Duel Academy, was still wearing the clothes she's wearing, which to me is sort of weird, because everyone else is either wearing blue, red, or yellow, and that's including the girls. So, Alexis, she gets a special outfit because she's Alexis Rhodes, people. I just thought that was interesting that she gets the extra special uniform, there. So, when this happens, they, and she tells Alexis, yes, they turned everyone into cards. They plan an escape plan, her, Alexis, and her friend, who was a Slifer Red, by the way, I guess, for Duel Academy, if that's still a ranking thing here at this particular evil version of Duel Academy. They go on a boat to escape, and when they get to the land, they are caught by some of the Duel Academy guards, and they, basically turned Alexis's friend into a card. I'm assuming they lost the duel, or she lost the duel, but they didn't show it. And then right when they're about to do it to Alexis, Mr. Sakaki comes out and saves the day. And, but apparently when he did that, he actually hurt himself, or he was hurting prior to that, as Alexis implied. But they did that after that formed the Yuya school, for people that, want to have fun with dueling rather than do what Duel Academy is doing. So that's what led to what they were doing. Again, Mr. Sakaki was taken out by 2 of, some of the people at the duel school or whatever, unofficial duel school. And that's when she explains, yeah, he's in bad shape, because he's got a cane and stuff like that. So that was kind of the whole explanation for what happened and whatnot there. It was really cool to see more of Alexis and get to hear what this Alexis Rhodes is about. Sort of similar to the original Alexis, but She also does talk about Astro Phoenix, how he is basically the person who led the Duel Academy into the invasion for the Xyz dimension. So yes, he is a villain in this. I don't see him betraying Duel Academy now, since he's the the leader, or not the leader, the person, basically the general, I guess, that leads these invasions. I don't see him betraying. It's really weird how they decided to do this with Astro Phoenix, because even though Astro Phoenix was a douche in GX, he eventually turned more into a good guy towards the ender half of GX. So this one, they kind of decided to keep Astro more of a villain in Arc V, this alternate version of himself, where Alexis, they 100% stuck her as a hero. They can't do it with everyone. I mean, to be fair, most of the returning Yu-Gi-Oh! Alternate characters that they made are all basically good guys for the most part up to this point. Even the ones from 5Ds were all good guys. So it makes sense that they would do that for one of them and have one of them be a villain. I am interested to note if they're going to have any more GX characters in going forward as well. So far, we only got Alexis and Astro Phoenix, it appears. But I'm curious to know if they're going to do any more. While this is going on, the fusion version of Yuya somehow, and this is where the plot hole comes into play, guys, somehow miraculously is just back into fusion dimension, taking orders from the the leader, Declan's father, who at least the dialogue for the English dialogue implied that he was sent from the headmaster to basically turn all these 5 duelists that are now traitors to Duel Academy into cards, because you were joining the Yuya school or whatever, there, or the Sakaki school, or they were planning to. Which, again, is really weird, because if you guys watch Season 2 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V, at the end of it, all the Yuyas from all 4 dimensions were basically fused into Yuya. They were all put into Yuya, but then, we never heard from them again after that. And then all of a sudden, not one time in any of the previous episodes was it ever implied that Yuya lost them, or they had gotten out of his body. So that is a plot hole in itself, because that was never explained. And it was heavily implied that the fusion dimension Yuya basically is, has been freed for a while now, because he had to have gone to the fusion dimension, talked to the headmaster, and then the headmaster had to have given him orders to take out these 5 duelists. So he had to have been there for a while now, or had been out of his body for a while now, because they were in the synchro dimension when this happened. Not that that matters, since he could easily travel through dimensions, because he has a dimension traveling device, but still, like Sora does. But still, I would have liked to have had an explanation for this. He duels the 5 duelists at once. They summon their monsters. They use their polymerizations. He starts talking smack, and he then eventually shows what a real, fusion monster is about. They're defending their beliefs on the whole, dueling's for fun and stuff like that. And they're like, that's not what it's about at all. And so eventually what comes down is he uses his fusion monster and basically takes him down all pretty easily, and turns them in the cards. By the time Alexis and Zuzu get there, it's too late. But then he's like, "Oh, this must be my lucky day, Zuzu. The headmaster's waiting for you," and stuff like that. And as he's about, Alexis is blocking, her from him, because she realizes that he wants him, and now, so she wants to protect her from him, and so he comes close by to he's coming close by to Alexis. And while this is happening, we get, I believe it was Yuto or Yuya, or no, not Yuo. I think it was Yuo, right? The synchro dimension version of Yuya, who comes riding into his motorcycle to go after the fusion dimension Yuya. And when it looks like he's about to run him over, he disappears out of nowhere. From his motorcycle. And so he's all pissed because before they fused into Yuya, they all, the synchro guy and the fusion dimension Yuya were chasing, or the synchro Yuya was chasing the fusion dimension Yuya, but prior to them going into one another. So there was that whole thing. He was like, "Oh, I missed him again," and then he turns around, sees Dawn, and so then Zuzu. He sees Zuzu. I can't believe I just did that again. He sees Zuzu, and basically he runs up to her and says, Zuzu, and he wants to give her a hug, and Zuzu just smacks him down and says, "No, and couldn't seen you any sooner," and whatnot, gives the classic Zuzu, joke, when she smacks them down with the little paper thing. Then they explain, stuff that happens, that we're, he says here in the fusion dimension, and I'm like, yeah, I know I'm in the fusion dimension. Now we have to find Rin, Lulu, and Selena, because they're all here now. So that's what they're doing, and that's what they're going to attempt to do. So yeah, there was no Sora in this episode, so I was again very, very sad. No, not sad, just kind of upset. I'm still waiting for Sora to return. I want Sora to return at some point in this thing here. But we'll see what happens. It's getting really good though. Overall it was good. I just didn't like the plot hole sequence. They didn't really explain how all of a sudden the fusion dimension Yuya was back, and they never showed why he was no longer in Yuya's body. They never showed them defuse from one another in any of the episodes. They went together in season 2, but they never, defused, and they just kind of didn't explain that at all. And I'm assuming that is a Japanese thing because, again, it didn't seem like the scene was cut. It just seemed like it was a sequence from the animation. The animation didn't seem like it was edited at all. It just seemed like that was just how they did it because he just appeared. And the way the dialogue interpreted was the way, very straightforward. So yeah, that was the episode. I thought episode 106 kind of got stuff together, kind of explained a little bit more about what's going on and what's been happening throughout this whole show, some of the mysteries that we didn't know about yet. I don't exactly know what's going on with the people in the Z's dimension. When they're going to get to Duel Academy, but I do want to also bring up at the end of this episode, actually, there was one more thing, and that was they did show the headmaster talking. about, them being in the Z's dimension, the Lancers being in the Z dimension and stuff like that, and, how they're going to, put a stop to it. There was these two girls that said, oh, you shouldn't have sent Astro Phoenix there. You should have sent us there, these two twin girls or whatever. So we're going to figure out what they're all about as well, too, in the coming episodes. And then, he said, go do what you got to do. And then that was the end of it. That was the end of the episode 106. Again, very, very promising episode. It kind of sets up some of the stuff that's going to be happening very soon in the coming episodes. Hopefully we'll see some of the Zuzu, not to be confused with Princess Azula's nickname for her brother, Zuko, there. Hopefully soon we'll get to see more of, them. Also, there was something to note, too, when Yuto and the Fusion Dimension, Yuya, crossed paths. We did see Zuzu's, bracelet, glow. There is a mystery behind the whole bracelets because all Zuzu's 4-dimension counterparts all have a bracelet. So there's 3 other people besides Zuzu, and they all have bracelets just like Zuzu. And again, as I've said before, my theory is that the only way for these 4 dimensions to be fused together is the headmaster needs all 4 of the Zuzus together. That's the only way he can do that. It's the only thing that I think right now makes sense because there's so much of a connection because they have the necklaces. They all have the necklaces and or not the necklaces. They all have the bracelets, and it would be the only thing that makes sense because again, they also said that the headmaster refused to let Selena go into battle for Duel Academy for the longest period of time to other dimensions. And I think this was specifically done for the fact that, he didn't want her leaving another dimension. He didn't want her leaving the fusion dimension because he needed Selena. He needs Selena, so he would never want her to leave the fusion dimension. So this is why I believe this is why it was done. Oh, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, Selena is also called Serena in the Japanese version. I don't know why they changed her name to Selena over Serena, since Serena is a very common name to be used in English. I guess maybe they were kind of afraid of Pokemon, or they were afraid of Sailor Moon. Even though Sailor Moon doesn't really call herself Serena anymore, unfortunately. But I still think it was kind of stupid. that was the one I found out that I thought was kind of dumb. That they kind of changed her name to Selena over Serena. Yeah, I found that out. I was like, okay. Yeah, okay. I was like, yeah, that's interesting. That they would do that. Well, at least in the English version. I don't know if they did it in the other versions, in the other language versions, from what I've heard. But then again, I mean, for most languages outside of Japan, they use localized names. Only in Japan, for Yu-Gi-Oh, they use the actual Japanese names. It's just like with Pokemon, they don't use the Japanese names outside of Japan. They use the English names. But I don't know about Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V. Though I actually don't for Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V. They might have changed that for Arc V because Arc V is the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Series where it's fully done by 4K Media under new ownership. Zexal, though the finishing touches, the last couple of seasons were done by 4K Media. The first season, and I think the first couple of episodes of season 2 was done by 4Kids while the bankruptcy was still going on. And that's why they, still internationally were using the English names because it was already set. But for Arc V, I don't exactly know, because I don't know what the deal is about the international way how the localized names things work in terms of how they deal with those anymore. You know, it's a very stingy thing now on using localized names. Honestly, I'm surprised Yu-Gi-Oh still does localized names. The way anime is this day and age, I when I found out that they were still using localized names for you, I mean, I know they were still using localized names for characters that were already established, like Alexis and stuff like that, but I didn't think they were gonna do it for like newer characters anymore. I was actually surprised by that when I found that out, that they were still doing that for some characters, not all the characters. Sora's name is actually called Sora in the actual Japanese version, but I think his last name was changed. Everyone's last name, I think, was changed, which is kind of weird because they normally don't do that, except for probably Yuya. His name is probably the same. I don't know. I don't even looked at all. I just knew about the Selena thing because I found something out on DeviantArt about it, and that's how I found out. But yeah. So that's my, like I said, that's getting on a little bit more, but that's my review of episode Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V English Dub, episode 106 review. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys watched it. Like I said, if you like this video and my other videos, please subscribe, comment, rate. And all my reviews will be in my playlist. The previous episode review for this series will be also in the description. And that's about it, guys. I am the SS Ultimate Goku. I'm out of here. Peace.